want to roll back a little bit to talk about some of your innovation process when we start looking at it. Is it an idea of what do we have in stock? What's the pipeline of what's available from our people we're buying from on the open market? What do we think is going to work well together? Kind of talk about what is it to just figure out, do we take some from a little bit over here? We take this finish, do this. Is it just a science lab experiment for the day? Kind of talk about just where the process really begins.
Yeah. And I think the biggest misnomer is that there's a specific written out process for everything. Really what it is it's constant processes and then pulling from those processes for the projects that you need to do. So ideally for us, and we're pretty much there now for the past couple years, we don't ever want to be relying on availability in the barrel market for something that we've created conceptually in our heads. We want to create things conceptually out of the things that we already own and are aware of what the yields are going to be like, and we've potentially worked with the liquid in another place before, because the worst thing is to want to do something and not be able to do it, to know it's going to work and have it not work in practicality. And so there's the sourcing side, which is how do we build the spice cabinet so that when we go to it, it's extensive enough that we can do cool things. And then there's the keeping track of what you have side to know what is the reality of what you can use and what you can't use. And then there's the fun experimenting side of just constantly putting things together. So I think about batch 31, which is the sort of current release of Barrell Bourbon right now. And batch 31, the majority of it, the vast majority of it, is these two sets of barrels. One is this like older 99% corn Indiana, where we've used a good amount of 99% corn. We used it it's an integral, though not complete, ingredient in the Stellum bourbon blend. And then we've used it in a couple other blends. And it's this delicious but very one-dimensional style of bourbon. It doesn't bring the complexity as a full ingredient, as a full whiskey that a lot of other mash bills might. But it's really singular in the notes it gives you, and it also has gems of barrels in it, partially because it's often very well-made whiskey, and so it lets barrels shine really well, like specific wood barrels. But we just had been playing around with different vattings of that for so long, and finally, at one point, Nick and Tripp matched it about 50-50 with a wheated bourbon blend we had. It was a multi-state blend of wheated bourbon that we had made the tank. We had used it mostly in private release bourbon, but we had some, and it just married really well. And suddenly the base of that project was, okay, we're going to start with 50-50 of these two, and we're going to test 60-40 on either side. We're going to test 65-35 on either side. And then we're also going to test 50-50 with small additions of other things that we have vatted already, things that we know we have a working sample of what the actual, if we use 10 or 20 barrels together, will taste like. And that, even though that's still not a one-dimensional decision, we still have to decide, is the base 50-50, is the base 60-40, so on and so forth. And then we at least can working in two dimensions is a lot easier, of like, what are the ingredients? If you know the ingredients and you can play around with the different dimensions of it, is much easier than trying different ingredients at the same time, unless you have a set base. When you have a set base, you can try different ingredients at the same time. And that became batch 31. It wasn't just dicking around in the lab, mixing stuff together. It was working with projects we had worked with things that we knew about, but it actually was a like open-ended, try different things, aha moment that led to the like, now we have a very specific directive. We're going to base it on these two bourbons, and then we're going to use some variety of these things that are already in the facility and tanked to be the sort of complementary pieces of it.